We begin the third hour of the program talking about flavored vapes. Now, flavored vapes were banned in Quebec on October 31st, but several months later, seems that ban is failing on several levels. Let's take a closer look now with Sebastian Dolan, who is head of government and regulatory affairs at Imperial Tobacco Canada. Sebastian, Mr. Dolan, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So first things first here. Let's talk about the changes that were made. If you could refresh our listeners' memory here. October 31st, what changed in Quebec?
Yeah, sure, thanks. So on October 31st, the government of Quebec essentially banned all flavored vaping products in the province. Therefore, from a retail manufacturing point of view, from a distribution point of view, and from a retailer point of view, you are no longer allowed to sell vapor products to anyone in the province. Unfortunately, what we've seen now is that the regulation has not worked and that flavored vapes are still widely available to any Quebecer who wants them. And now what we're seeing on the ground are two serious issues that must be addressed. First of all, illegal vape products with no quality control have flooded the Quebec market. We were recently on the ground and we identified over 200 sales outlets that are non-compliant, and these stores have completely ignored the regulations that were put in place on October 31st. They're selling flavored vapor products. They're selling products where they're enticing people to mix their own flavored vapes, which is really tampering with the product, which could have huge health ramifications. And they're selling products that exceed the maximum quantity of 2 ml. So that's the first problem if we want to talk about the product. The second problem that we're really seeing is the clear and utter lack of communication between the Ministry of Health and the inspectors who are meant to be enforcing the law on the ground. I'm not sure, Elias, if you saw last week the two investigative reports by Le Soleil and Le Journal de Montréal, but they both demonstrated that 91% of vape shops that were inspected by the inspectors that are put on the ground by the Ministry of Health were illegal, and yet only one of those shops received a fine.
So
I mean, think of that.
I did see that reporting, right? So, and this is where I have questions. How is that possible, right? So, if 91% of the shops are doing something that is now not allowed by law, how are they getting away with it?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of problems here. First of all, I think the Minister Dubé enacted a law without putting a lot of thought behind it, and he was hoping that it was going to go away. It was a feel-good regulation. Let's ban flavored vapes and let's move on. What failed to happen was his ministry did not educate the inspectors on the ground, and that's where we're seeing that there's a huge disconnect. So when you have 91% of the outlets that are illegal and one of them only getting a fine, clearly that message has not come down the food chain. The good news here is that last week we were pleased to see that Minister Dubé did speak out publicly and say that he's no longer going to be tolerant of flavored vapes being sold in Quebec. So, as we've seen before, words are one thing, action is another, and we're hoping that the minister follows through and educates his inspectors and gives them the mandate and the resources to really put an end to this illegal market that's boomed in Quebec.
So what does Imperial Tobacco here want to see? Is it the playing field being leveled by not allowing these other parties to sell products that you can't sell, or do you want these flavor vapes back on the market entirely?
Yeah, listen. At the end of the day, we want an even playing field. We are fully compliant with every law and regulation on our business in Canada. And do we think that the flavor ban was a good idea? Absolutely not. Do we think it's going to achieve its stated objective? Absolutely not. But if you're going to put a law on the table and enact it, you have to put the resources to enforce the law. If not, it's absolutely the Wild West, which is exactly what we're seeing out there. The second thing that we'd really like to see is these anti-tobacco groups that fought so hard to get this law enacted to demand some government action, right? You have the likes of Florie Ducas for the National Coalition Against Tobacco in Quebec, and she fought tooth and nail to get this law enacted. But right now, she's completely missing in action when it comes to publicly pressuring the government to, again, put boots on the ground and enforce the law that she fought so hard for.
And that's true. Florie's been on this program a couple of times on that very subject. Now, let me ask you just ways around the law, right? So flavored vapes are not allowed. But is it easy to just circumvent it? Isn't there a huge loophole? Because you could sell the flavors as a separate product is that still allowed, right? So like even if you crack down on these these stores that are selling the 91%, can't they still get around the law anyways?
Yeah, so there are a lot of ways that these shops are circumventing the law, which can get a little bit technical, but I can lump them into three main areas. First, there are still a lot of products, and a majority of the product being sold are flavored vape products, right? What was essentially banned, which is a disposable or a flavored a vape product that contains a flavored liquid, you're still finding that everywhere on the market. Number two is, and this is where, as you're saying, might be perceived as a bit gray, but last week Mr. Dubé was very explicit in saying he will not allow flavored shots. What's a flavored shot? So basically, what a lot of these retail outlets have done is they're selling a container of non-flavored nicotine liquid, which is legal, but then they're selling it with a flavored shot so that you go and mix your own flavor together. That is completely against the spirit of the law, and that is what Monsieur Dubé came out with last week, saying that he's no longer going to accept it, and now we really just need to see the boots on the ground. And the third thing is, since the law was enacted in October 31st, the sale of online flavored products coming to Quebec has absolutely boomed. So online, anyone can buy online. I mean, obviously our online sales from Imperial Tobacco Canada are triple age gated. So when you log into the website, when you place your order and upon delivery at your door, but really online is a huge issue when it comes to flavors entering Quebec, and also the youth problem that we're seeing as well.
And I guess that goes to the level playing field, right? Because those who are selling illegally online are not going to follow any of the rules that are in place that Imperial Tobacco, your company, is to follow.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, Sebastian, listen, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for coming on the program. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Sebastian Dolan is head of government and regulatory affairs at Imperial Tobacco Canada.